So I love a movie with a bonkers setup, and this is the most bonkers of setups, right? Imagine one day you are walking down the street and everyone you walk past is sort of like looking at you funny, like they've seen you before but can't place it. This goes on the whole day, right? Then finally, after many people asking if they know you or if you're famous, one of them realizes, hey, I dreamt about you last night. And then an avalanche of people come forward and start going like, "Hey, you were in my dream last night." Like, I'm talking hundreds of thousands of people. Like, you're all over the internet. You're in other countries. All people you have never met before. Not only that, but in these dreams, you don't do anything, right? You're not an active participant in what's happening. You're not you're just observing. You're just walking past in the background. You are literally like, it's like you're not even there. You're just a piece of the furniture. This is the concept of 2023's Netflix absurd fantasy horror dream scenario. It's a truly bizarre premise with a truly god tier Nick Cage performance, which was obviously like the premise of this movie was it must have been written for Nick Cage because it was obviously inspired by how memeable he is. Um, the performance in this movie, he makes you cringe, he makes you laugh like uneasily, he makes you feel for them, and then immediately get the shits with him. This is like premium grade Nick Cage. It's a truly weird film, and I loved it up until the last 15 minutes. As I alluded to, Dream Scenario follows evolutionary biologist Paul Matthews, played by Cage. Now, Paul is a fucking nobody, right? Like, he hasn't really achieved anything in academia. He has the personality of Flower, and he seems to be as forgettable to the public as the fact that Paul Walker had a 16-year-old girlfriend. Google it. Um, when all of a sudden Paul starts appearing in everyone's dreams, he finally rises to the fame that he believes he deserves for doing nothing. Um, but he learns quickly that the problem with dreams is that you have no control over what's in other people's minds and how they perceive you. And that is when the horror kicks in. I am a Nick Cage apologist, right? I love him as an actor, and I especially love him in this recent horror renaissance he's doing. He plays the cringiest fucking dad in this, but it's just so good you can't look away. He has all these weird mannerisms, and he does this weird head shake thing, and his character's so weak but also egotistical without having any actual talent to back it up. Like, he's like, I have a PhD. You should. This should just all come to me. You should respect me, which is not how the fucking world works. And but sometimes you're feeling bad for him. Like, you are like, hey man, this is really, that sucks that this is happening to this character. And then he immediately does something annoying, and you're like, all right, fuck you, dude. That's enough. You're cooked. Um, Also, Nick Cage chose his hairstyle for this character, and that fucking tracks if you've seen any of the shots from this film. Just the he's just the lamest fucking dad. He's just the lamest dude ever. And it just goes to show you how effortlessly cool Nick Cage is in real life, that he has to act so far the other way. Um, his family is also great in this. He just drags them through the ringer with completely tone deaf personality and approaches to social situations. And Julian Nicholson, who plays his wife Janet, she so deftly acts in a way that simultaneously makes you feel bad for her, but also you don't really like her because you're like, you're shady as fuck. You got some weird shit going on, lady. So you are empathetic, but only to a point. It walks you right to that point. When I found out that this was produced by Ari Aster and directed by Christopher Borgli, I was like, oh yeah, that makes complete sense. No cinematic DNA test needed. It has Ari Aster's weird Beau was Afraid energy all over it. Usually I hate dream sequences in movies, but the ones in this, they seem so normal that you can't tell they are dreams until something fucking horrific happens, and horrific things do happen. There is a blunt force trauma death in this movie that is really graphic, so everyone who says this isn't a horror, back the fuck up. The only problem I have with this film is that they don't know what to do with the ending. When the problems for Paul get at their most climactic, it sort of doesn't know where to go and just kind of fizzles out. There were chances to really get weird and really get brutal, but it sort of just goes, and that's the end, with no real resolution, which is a shame because it's a great movie for like 80 to 85% of it. Also, there is an excruciating erotic scene with Nick Cage and a much younger actor, and it was really well done. But fuck, it made me squirm. Like, it made me so uncomfortable, which was the purpose of it. But fuck, I was like, oh, I don't like this. All in all, though, if you are into the weirder side of horror, a wild premise, and of course Nick Cage, this is probably worth your time. It is a really interesting performance. I recommend watching this if you love cringy train crash movies where the ones that are so interesting you can't look away, but you just go, oh fuck, I wish you wouldn't do that the entire time. If you love absurd, like Ari Aster, Christoph Burgley movies, Beau Was Afraid, Sick of Myself, that sort of shit, the weirder socially stuff, this is one of them. If you want to see a brilliantly weird Nick Cage performance, I truly think this is one of his best because it's so odd. It's such an odd performance. He's just a real fuck. I don't recommend watching this if you hate abstract weird horrors. This is a fucking weird one. So if you want a straight up horror, this is not it. There's not a lot of horror in this. There are kills and stuff, but it's not like a full straight down the line horror. Guys, hit me up with your weird Nick Cage performances. What's your best one? For me, I reckon it's probably fucking Mandy. I've heard Pig's very good, but I haven't seen it. But I just love Mandy. God, I love Mandy, and he's just so crazy in that movie. If you like this film, but you wanted it to be more horror orientated, I highly recommend the 2012 film The Hunt with Mads Mikkelsen. It follows a teacher in a small town in Denmark who gets wrongly accused of molestation by a kid at school. Like, you know that they are wrongly accused. And the village turns on him. And it is so fucking tense and it is so fucking bleak. And it's really good it's a really good look at being tried in the court of public opinion. And it's a good one. It's a tough one, but it's a good one. Another pick is 2022's Barbarian. It starts as a really tense film about the dangers of like beige flags. And then it just gets wonderfully weirder. One of the characters is this slimy little fuck that gets rightfully cancelled and has a tantrum, and he's just it's good. And it's got similar vibes to this movie in parts. As always, thanks for watching. And remember, if you do want to follow along with this Spooktober Watchfest, subscribe, hit the bell, do all that. That is the best way to do it. And I hope to see you tomorrow for another review. Peace.